Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. The show where, just like you, we can't get enough sports.
The 47-year wait is over! And the Nuggets win it! Wilson throwing, it's up for grabs, and he's caught for the touchdown! And the Denver Broncos have taken Super Bowl 50. And the Avalanche are 2022 Stanley Cup champions! And a shot into the back of the net for Diego Rubio!
Now here's your hosts, Arthur Knight.
1-0 Rapids. They are champions.
Yo, what's good in the hood? Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. I am Arthur Knight, and I just want to say what's up to all my sports fiends out there, man. How's everything going? We are coming to you live from Sohai Cafe, 4300 West Alameda Avenue in Denver, Colorado. Come on by, get you some Viper Pit barbecue, or you can get you some, trying to think of the name here, but you can get some tacos and burritos. The menu has been completely changed. They are open longer hours here. I believe they drop open at noon now. Is that right, Vinny?
No, we're open at 8 a.m., bro.
8 a.m. All right, so stop on by 8 a.m. between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Tell them the Sportz Phenz sent you. 4300 West Alameda, Denver, Colorado. You can call and get your pre-orders at 303-807-0151. That's 303-807-0151. Sohai Cafe, Viper Pit Barbecue, burritos, and tacos. We're also being brought to you by INV Vision. INV Vision is devoted to offering affordable and fashionable eye care. INV is your eye care advocates. Their goal is to provide all with the education and awareness needed to make an informed decision about your vision and health. They are located here in Aurora, Colorado, but you can call today 720-762-4290 or book online at invvision.com. They take most medical insurance and Medicaid, so call or book today at 720-762-4290 or invvision.com. That's 720-762-4290 or invvision.com. INVVision, we see you. All right, I got to start the show off on a bit of a somber note. Got to give a shout out to one of my best friends, and a good friend of this show. Our thoughts and prayers and love go out to the Perez family. Gus Perez was an Army veteran, a tough guy, a funny guy. He was a father. He was a brother. He was a grandpa. I mean, he was everything to everyone. The life of the party. But most of all, he was a good friend. Gus was not only a friend of me and a supporter of me personally, but he was also a supporter and friend of this show. He watched us every week, along with Mark, and our thoughts and prayers go out to Mark and his family. So let's send him our love and thoughts and prayers. Gus, you will be missed. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your friendship, and I'll try not to get teary here. Thank you for your friendship, and just thank you for every single life lesson you helped walk me through in the worst part of my life. You saved my life, man.
Amen.
You're the man, Gus, and we're going to miss you.
Shout out to the Perez family.
Excuse me. Our thoughts and prayers to Gus and the Perez family. But today we do have a lot to celebrate, and mostly we can celebrate Gus. Like, he was a big Broncos fan. He was also a Cowboys fan.
I was just going there. I was going to
He was a
change it up and say,
huge
hey,
Broncos fan, man.
Let's go Broncos. Let's kill it for Gus this year.
Yeah, I think the Broncos are going to kill it for Gus this year. I mean, sadly, they're probably going to beat the Cowboys here in Denver. We wanted to take Gus to that game. Sadly, he's not going to be able to make it in the physical realm, but I know he will be there with us when we go for the he'll be there in our hearts. Mark and I are determined to go to that game now, or at least I am for sure. I don't care at what cost or where the seats will be. I'm taking Gus in my heart, and we're going to that game. He had never been to a Broncos Cowboys game because the Broncos usually play the Cowboys in Dallas. So this is the first time that they're actually playing here in Denver, at least to my recollection. Words are hard. I can't think of a time that the Cowboys played here, or at least a time that we could have gone that the Cowboys play here. But we were going to go this year. He will be there in spirit. I know it. Angie, we love you. If you guys need anything, we are just a phone call away. But to get to sports, and I'm sorry to lay that heaviness on you, but Gus deserves it, man. Gus was a stand-up guy, not only to this country, but to his family. Gus is the type of guy that would give you the shirt off his back. And the pants off of his bottom. As he would do it to be funny, but he would actually do it. But he was just such an overall good guy, good soul, and he will be missed. But let's get to football, one of Gus's favorite sports, because one of his always, man, what I wouldn't give to say Art or hear Gus say Art. Who's gonna win the game? How are the Broncos gonna do this year, man? I'm going to miss that. But, again, let's get to football. The Denver Broncos look good, man. Denver Broncos depth looks good. They escaped last night relatively injury-free to any player that would be playing this season. Stidham looks like you could hand him the keys to the expensive car and he probably wouldn't crash it. He probably wouldn't do as, I remember when Osweiler stepped in for Manning and everybody was like, oh, we just need to switch to him. Manning's old, et cetera, et cetera. I have a feeling this year is going to be about the same. People are going to be calling for Stidham if Bo Nix has any kind of sophomore slump. But please, people, hold on to your mentals. Don't lose faith in the kids so far. This defense is going to be maddening good. And that is only going to play into Bo Nix's hands. He's going to get mad opportunities to show what he can do. And I think that the ceiling and the floor for this kid, Bo Nix, is going to be very high. I know we were down on him even on this show a couple of weeks ago when he came out and underthrew. It was an underwhelming performance, but I think that he would even say that criticism of himself coming out of that game. And the proof was in the pudding when they had the joint practices. All of the reports coming out of camp was the offense showed up. The offense had a little bit of pep in their step. The offense was, doing all the little things, making the Cardinals look really, really bad. And the second string solidified that on Saturday when they played against Stidham and all the twos. It was 2-on-2, 3-on-3. And the Broncos looked really, really good. Now, granted, I know this is all preseason, but here's the thing. I know most people don't care about preseason, but I'm going to give you the reason why I care about preseason. Yes, these players most likely won't be in the NFL, or at least some of these players won't be in the NFL after these 3 games are done. They'll be sitting waiting for phone calls for the next 3 months, based upon injuries, trades, or whatever, releases. But here's the thing. These guys are out there playing their hearts out. Yeah, it's not solid football. It's not great organized football, but you could see glimmers of greatness out of some players. And I'll give you an example of when I was a kid, in my late teens, and there was this one player on a kickoff. And, in my mind, it's like he came streaming down in a like a bullet, but it was like a blue streak straight down the field on a kickoff. And he nails this guy. I mean, nails him. And I felt the pads. I was watching it on TV, not even on surround sound. And I could feel it. I could feel the smack of the pads going together. And that player was Terrell Davis, the one and only Ring of Fame, Hall of Fame Terrell Davis, Super Bowl MVP Terrell Davis, TD. Before that, he wasn't on anybody's radar. I challenge anybody to find any news report or anybody talking about TD before that play. So that's why, to me, it is very important to see or watch most of, if not all of the game. I get it, third and fourth quarter, or other half of the third quarter through the fourth quarter. Those guys are really just trying to put tape. They're trying to put tape out there, show that they have some skills to play in the NFL, or they could be on a practice squad, etc. But those guys are out there playing their hearts out, man. They're fighting for jobs. And just like I love watching basketball on all levels, to me, preseason is just another level of football that you have to go through in order to make it. Does that make sense? Like, some players have to go through the G League and the NBA to get their NBA contracts, right? Some players are drafted and still have to go through the G League, etc. But some players just go through different paths, right? This, to me, in the NFL is just another path. And I think watching some of these guys, like, for instance, Blake Watson, this guy, I don't know if you're going to be able to stash him on like a practice squad. He's making his name known. He's running with threes, the 2 threes and fourth squad, and the guys and he's still producing. I mean, this kid had 10 rushes for 34 yards, 3.4 on the carry. Yeah, that could be a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? You probably want 4 or 5, maybe even 6 yards, which you are getting out of RJ Harvey, at least last night you did. That kid looks really, really good, and looks like the Broncos have won. To me, like, the whole criticism, including my own, about this kid coming out of camp is, out of the first game for the Cardinals. Not the Cardinals, the San Francisco 49ers. Sorry, I just read a message from Mark, and I'm trying to curb my emotions here. But coming out of the first game against San Francisco, he kept bouncing it out. And yes, you have tremendous speed. We can see that. You're going to be able to beat a lot of people off of that corner when you bounce it out. And don't stop being who you are. Please continue to do that, but do that sparingly and when the play calls for it. Don't constantly do that, because then you're going to get basically pigeonholed into that's the type of player you are. And yesterday he showed that he can get those grimy 6-yard through the tackles and the A-B gap. He showed yesterday that he could do that. Again, he averaged 6 yards a carry for 18 yards on 3 carries. That's pretty doggone good for a rookie running back of any kind. Especially for a second rounder. And I think that they only allowed him to carry those 3, and he got those 6, and they kind of just put him to the side. He didn't run anymore after that because there's no reason to have him out there fighting for yards that don't matter, right? He showed that he can get the grimy between the tackle, between the guards, yardage, and gain significant yards. I mean, 6 yards on 1 carry is significant, man. That's 2nd and 4 as opposed to 2nd and 7, or even 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5. That's in a game of inches, right? That many yards gives you an edge. It opens up the playbook a lot more. It keeps the defense on the other side of the ball more honest to the run. You can't, because you can run out of that. You can do a screen out of that. You can do wide receiver screen out of that. You could throw a bomb out of that. You could throw a slant out of that. You could throw it to the tight end and the flat out of that. 2nd and 4, there's so many different possibilities that the defense has to prepare for. In a 2nd and 7, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, it narrows the amount of plays that you can run out of those, out of that yardage, right? I don't care how good your quarterback is. I don't care how good of a running back you have. I don't care how great your wide receivers are. Any player will tell you. I didn't have to be in the NFL to know that longer yardage is harder to gain. I mean, That's just common sense, right? 2nd and 7 is a lot harder to complete than 2nd and 4. You're a lot closer to the line to gain by 3 yards. That's significant. So having a rookie be able to do that, now let's see if he can do it consistently. I don't know what Coach Payton is going to decide to do in this last game of the preseason. Is he going to seat all of his second and first string guys and just play guys that are going to be on practice squad or possibly picked up on waivers, give them an opportunity to be picked up by other teams? That remains to be seen. We will definitely see. I just know that the running backs, they have so many of them. Tyler Batty started off really, really hot and then kind of fizzled out at the end. I mean, he did get an 8-yard run, averaged about 3.5. But to be in the league a lot longer than Blake Watson and get less yards. Now, granted, he only got 4 carries, but he wasn't getting the job done. It seemed like Estime got a few more carries, did get 20 yards, a long of 7, but he only averaged 2.2 yards, man. So that means that he wasn't getting – that's your 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8 guy off of first down. Like, that's not going to cut it, buddy. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it at all. 2.2 yards, even 3.5, that still puts you at second and what, 5.5, 6 yards? Or 7 yards, 6.5, 7 yards, excuse me. Those are long. Those are, now you have to make the offense work to get at least 4 or 5 yards, maybe 3 to 5 yards, so that you have a 3rd and manageable or a 3rd and short to get the defense back on their heels, to get the defense guessing, right? You want short yardage plays. You want long yardage plays, or your plays to end in long yardage. You want that. You want 6 yards per carry. I mean, Jaleel McLaughlin, he had 3 rushes for 48 yards, and his average was 16. Now, I'd have to refresh my memory and rewatch the game from last night, but I'm pretty sure not all of that was with the 2s. I'm pretty sure some of that was with the 3s, but either way, Jaleel was the best running back the Denver Broncos had on the squad last year, and that's hands down. Like, he was the only one that was averaging 4+ yards, or at least 3+ yards, man. There's no way anybody can argue that he wasn't, even if what's his name had more yards, he was the more dynamic back. He just didn't get as many carries. Period, point, end of discussion. The Broncos are going to have a tough decision to make in the running back room. I think hands down, the quarterback room is what it is. There's, I don't think Stidham, even after last night, there's no way you can tell me that he made a push for the starting role. Yes, he was 16 of 23, no interceptions, 240 yards, 2 tutties. I get it. Something like that, you would be like, oh, well, maybe he should be the starter. Like, that's not always that's where the preseason doesn't really mean all that much, right? In that aspect of the preseason, that's where it doesn't really matter all that much, because yes, Bo Nix went against the 2s last week and didn't look, underthrew a couple passes, had an underwhelming performance. Nobody can argue that. And he was going against the 2s. He wasn't going against San Francisco's 1s. But in practice he was, and they, apparently reports coming out of practice was he was smoking their defense, man. So I don't know if the Denver Broncos first team is just playing coy and don't want to show their hand too much in showing what Bo Nix is capable of doing. Maybe they would like for everybody to assume he's going to be the same quarterback from last year, because everybody has tape on this kid, right? Everybody's got tape on him now. They know his efficiencies. They know his deficiencies. They know his tendencies. There's going to be game planning to be had against Bo Nix They're going to force him to do things that he wasn't comfortable with doing or good at, for lack of a better term, last year. I think he's going to rise to the occasion. I really do. I do think the Broncos are kind of playing coy, just judging by how this coach, how Coach Payton has been in the past. Even if you watch the movie that he was closely advising on about him, he's not just arrogant or just very arrogant. Probably isn't the best word, but he's so he's so like high on himself that it would not surprise me if he thinks that if he shows too much, teams will have tape from this preseason that will hurt Bo Nix come regular season, right? So I think there's a bit of that. There's a bit of gamesmanship. There's a game within this game, right? Just like any game, even when you're playing like checkers, chess, any other type of game, there's a game within the game. There's strategy. You try to get your opponent to make a mistake, and he's not going to show too much of what they are capable of offensively with his starters. There was some stuff coming out that the San Francisco 49ers, the Cardinals and Broncos, both camps were saying that they weren't going to play the starters at all. But it was kind of funny. The Broncos did suit up Evan Ingram, threw him a pass for 58 yards, 1 target, 1 catch, 58 yards. And it was actually very, very nice from Stiddy to Ingram. Can't wait to see that on, with Bo Nix in him. That's going to be such an added tool to Bo Nix's belt, his tool bag. To have that outlet guy that can run across the field, a big guy that'll take that hit or fast enough to run away from the defense, which he did last night. I think that gave us as Denver Broncos fans a bit of a sigh of relief, right? Now we've seen Evan Ingram play, at least on a football field and not on a practice field, right? Now we've seen him. It gave me a sigh of relief because I was starting to get worried. We haven't seen Greenlaw. We haven't seen Evan Ingram except for in practice, and I don't even think Greenlaw has practice. But we hadn't seen Evan Ingram play really a down or get the ball thrown to him at all. And to see that he can catch it across the field and do what he did in yesterday's game, that gives me great hope that that's going to be that outlet pass guy when they're doubling Cortland, and there's not really that second guy. Although Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin both made an argument yesterday that they could be that number 2 guy. Troy Franklin had 2 touchdown catches that were awesome. They were miraculous, it seemed like. Stiddy did put the ball on a rope right to him. But yeah, Troy Franklin, 4 catches, 67 yards, a long of 27, 2 tutties, 5 targets. So he only either dropped 1 or he got missed on 1 pass out of all the targets that he had all night. His average was 16.8. That's pretty doggone good. You would get that at any 2. And he'd probably get more work. If he was at the 2, he'd probably get more work. We didn't see Vele, even though Vele was practicing this week. Had reports coming out of camp, whereas he had a really good dual practice on Thursday. He was catching all kind, like everything, but apparently wasn't good enough to go yesterday or is considered a starter, so did not play yesterday. But Troy Franklin made his argument that he could be the 2. Pat Bryant also made his argument that he could be the 2. 4 4 receptions on 5 targets, 70 yards, 17.5 on average with a 29, but no touchdowns. But he had some good catches, man. There was one in particular where he was catching it on the sideline and kind of sat and kept his feet in. The presence of mind as a rookie to keep both feet in like that and just learn so quickly. The Broncos are going to be pretty deep on second down. You know, like the thing that scares me is the Broncos don't have a true number one, and that's no disrespect or shade thrown at our boy who just got his golden ticket or his extension. I'm not talking down on Sutton. I'm not. But the bottom line is that he would be a number 2 on most teams. Most teams, especially that have a true number 1 receiver. Like I said, that's not shade. He's like a 1A, 1B guy if he's on a team with a guy of his caliber. But he's at most a number 2. He's a number 1 here because we love Courtland Sutton and he's been here and they drafted him to be that guy, and he does make miraculous catches. He does everything that they've asked him to do. Even with sorry quarterbacks, he's still produced. I don't take anything from him. But the Broncos don't have a true number 1 wide receiver, and so they'll be pretty deep at the 2, in the sense that they have some guys that want to be really, really good. And I think the attitude coming out of that game with these guys catching passes like that, man, it's going to be a competitive room. Let's put it that way. Maybe not deep. The depth on there, because all of these guys are middle of the road, and the top guy is maybe a number 1 in a handful of places, including Denver, and a number 2 in everywhere else. These guys are going to be fighting for yards, and it seems like Bo Nix is going to have a plethora of wide receivers to throw to. He's got plenty of toys. I don't see any time going into 5 wide, but I could see that 3 with a tight end or a 4 out of the single back. Any of those things, the offensive line has seemed to hold up very, very well. Because like I said, some of these backs got dang near 50 yards. There was 30 yards plus on most of them. So the offensive line is firing on all cylinders. The only thing that I have about the offensive line is that there's not a lot of depth there. So injuries could become a problem over the course of a grueling season. And the Denver Broncos are going to have a grueling season, man. That's what happens when you get to the playoffs or when you're a top team. That's the parity and peril of the NFL, is when you become the top, the NFL does everything to put you back at the bottom. And it is on you to have good ownership, good GM, good coaches to ride that wave and maintain greatness during that period. That's all you can do. And kudos to the Denver Broncos turning it around into the ownership group that the Broncos currently have. I think Pat Bowlen would be proud of what the Penner Walton group is doing. I believe that, the other Peyton, the GM Peyton, I think that he's starting to redeem himself from his first couple of years as the GM. Because he made some really, really bad decisions. And when they got rid of the coach and they got rid of the quarterback, I think he knew he was next to go because he was the architect of all of that. So now it seems like he, coupled with Coach Peyton, I think they've got a rhythm. I think they've got – at least for me as a fan, I can see what they're trying – we still don't see – what their personality is going to be, because that's yet to be seen. This is year 2 in Bo Nix's tenure. But you can kind of see in the off season or in the what am I trying to think of here? In the interim of finding out if they are going to be great, you can see visibly as a fan that they're at least trying to do something to make this team better. First step was finding a quarterback. They found that. They even made it to the playoffs in his rookie season. Next is to try to make sure that you protect Bo Nix from himself in his sophomore year, to not, try to force things, because that's exactly what teams are going to try to do. They're going to try to put him in uncomfortable situations and force him to make mistakes. Now, this kid doesn't really make mistakes. They did that to him last year. They put pressure on him. They did a lot of things. But he did in his first game in the preseason last week, he made a mistake. He did. Throwing that ball from your own end zone and getting a penalty called on you for grounding is a big mistake. But that's the type of things that I want, or the Denver Broncos, I feel like, are going to avoid come the regular season. It does look like the coaching staff is coaching its players almost like you need to do the job of the guy ahead of you type style. Because even Ellis, who's on, like the close to the chopping block, he even showed that he has, some skills to come off the edge, stop the run, even look like he could do a little bit of coverage. So, to me, the Denver Broncos are doing what it takes to build a culture and a better culture than what we as Bronco fans have been used to for the past 7 or 8 years. I hate to say it, but since the passing of Mr. Bolin, this franchise was in a bunch of turmoil, even, family, who owns it, who should own it. There was a bunch of sibling rivalry, and it was left in a trust that wasn't running, and John Elway, for all the great things he did for this franchise, he seemed to be losing his touch. He definitely could not evaluate quarterbacks, which is really, really weird, being as he's one of the greatest ones to ever play. But to me, that was his biggest flaw. Man, could he pick defenders, corners, linebackers, defensive linemen? Yeah. For some reason, I guess if you wanted to argue that because he spent most of his career analyzing defensive linemen, linebackers, and how they should be playing, how they attack the ball, that's probably why he's able to analyze and pick and choose those type of players. So, but with the quarterback situation and offensive players, man, he put together a really good team, a couple of really good teams with Peyton Manning, but was that more luck or was that skill, And I know the saying, sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be, skilled, but that luck ran out rather quickly, and the Broncos franchise seemed to be falling out of disarray. It was in complete disarray and dysfunctional. There wasn't anything that resembled a winning franchise, or the winning franchise that the Denver Broncos is. So kudos to the ownership group, kudos to the coaching staff, and even kudos to the GM for righting the ship, figuring out, we all make mistakes, right? I tell my daughters all the time, you're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. It's not the mistake that defines you as a person. It's what you do after that mistake. That's who you are. Are you going to change, or are you going to just keep doing the status quo and keep getting in trouble or keep making that mistake? Because after you make the mistake the first time, that's a mistake, but the second time, that's a choice. So it seems like the Broncos were making a choice to not be good, do good, make good decisions, and now they are doing those things. You have an ownership group that are making solid business decisions. They're putting money into the franchise. Now, granted, yes, they're probably the richest group in the whole NFL at this point. It's not like Mr. Bolin was scratching for money. He wasn't checking his couch for spare change. I know that. But he wasn't as rich as this ownership group, right? But they are investing money. They are investing time. They are building better facilities. They are hiring staff members that, will keep their players healthy. They hired a coaching staff that seems to be very professional and the epitome of professionalism. And that shows in the way that a lot of these players are conducting themselves on and off the field. So I can't speak highly, enough about what the Penner Walton Group is doing for this franchise as a Broncos fan. I've been a Broncos fan for a very, very long time. I've seen the ups and downs. I've seen all of those Super Bowl losses, including the most recent one where the first snap of the game went over Peyton Manning's head that we all try to forget. But it's hard to forget when you're so passionate about a franchise. And I do like the way this franchise is going, man. I like the way that they're building their talent pool from the inside out, meaning the defensive and offensive line, the quarterback, out to the corners and wideouts. They are building a solid franchise, not just a team. Some franchises want to build a team to win a Super Bowl and then don't have a plan after that. It seems like this team is trying to plan not only winning a Super Bowl, but what are we going to do? What is our business model going to be moving forward to sustain? How did the Pats do it? How did the Chiefs do it? How did the Cowboys in the 90s do it? How did the Denver Broncos do it in the late 90s? They won a couple of championships and then maintained going to the playoffs for a few years with Jake Plummer and other quarterbacks. How were they able to sustain those things? Now, granted, most of the time, like those 90s teams, those early 2010 teams, it was a different type of NFL then, so you can't really use that as a complete blueprint. But you can, if you're smart enough, you can take bits and pieces of all of those things and comprise your own method of maintaining within your current business model, right? Similar to the NBA when they implemented the apron system. The system before that, you can't do those things anymore. You could take bits and pieces of that system and utilize it in the new system, but you can't do what you used to do and buy championships like you used to. You just can't do that. If you sign 2 or 3 players to max extensions or max contracts and put yourself in the second apron, you're locked. Like you're basically locked in to all of those contracts, and it makes it incredibly hard to sign free agents and move guys. It just does. In the NFL, it's a little bit easier, and you do have a lot more pieces to work with a 52 or 53-man roster, plus your practice squad. So it makes it a little bit easier in the NFL to work these dealings and have, a lot more depth. But, man, the NFL is designed to knock you off your heel, man, or your hill. It's designed to, we don't want you to win in Dynasty and do all of that stuff. Maybe maintain winning. You can maintain winning, but no, the NFL doesn't want you to win 3 and 4 and 5 Super Bowls in a row or 3 out of 5. The whole purpose, why would a team like the Denver Broncos want the Chiefs to win any more championships? Why would they want the the Las Vegas Raiders or the Los Angeles Chargers to win anything? We don't want them to win anything in this division, right? Now we want it to be the toughest division so that when our wins are a little bit, they have a little credibility. You want your division to be tough, but you don't want them winning championships and stuff. Like I don't want the Raiders to win nothing. I don't want the Chiefs to win nothing. I don't want the Chargers to win squat, man. Y'all can win as many regular season games as you want. I don't want you winning any playoff games. I don't want you winning any kind of, and some would argue that kind of diminishes the power of your division. But no, the fact that the Denver Broncos, the AFC West will probably send at least 3 teams to the playoffs this year. That I don't care if every single one of them loses in the playoffs. That makes your division very, very tough. That means you had to win. You had to get in by winning and beating other teams in other divisions, because in your division, you're evenly matched. That means that most of those 3 teams are probably 2-2 with each other on the season, right? In order for all 3 to go, so they would have to win beat teams outside of their division. So that makes it very tough. That makes this division very tough. The Broncos do have a big hill to climb. It does look like the Kansas City Chiefs have a chink in the armor. The division is very up for grabs, and I think that the Denver Broncos have a good chance of grabbing that brass ring. God forbid any major injuries happen. It does look like they have some depth. It looks like the Denver Broncos will be all right, especially at corner position. That corner position, that the depth that they have at defensive back, man, safeties and DBs, is incredible. It's incredible to watch, man. It not only reminds me of the no-fly zone, they might be better than the no-fly zone, my guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they might be better. When you have outside linebackers that can get to the quarterback under 2 seconds, you have defensive linemen that can stuff the run, so it forces the other team to pass more. That makes it incredibly hard for you to beat that defense, and it makes it so much easier for the corners to sit back and read the quarterback's eyes or just play their zone or play their man. This Broncos team is going to be able to play a lot of man, and that's going to free up the safeties to help play in the box. That's going to help. Not only that, it's going to help the safeties be able to play free. This team, this defense is going to be very, very good, and it'll be hard pressed to keep VJ here after this year if the Broncos defense is in the top 5. Again, let me restate again. If the Broncos defense is in the top 5, this man went from being the defensive coordinator, the DC, that allowed a team in Miami to drop a 70 burger on his defense, and then took that same defense minus a couple of players that were probably cancers in the locker room or didn't want to play the way he needed them to play, moved a couple of pieces around, did some shake and bake, scrambled up some eggs, and then, made a top 5 defensive team last year. The number 1 team in turnovers, a complete bend but not break defense. Yeah, they would allow teams to get some yardage on them, but they wouldn't allow teams to put too many points on them. And I think this year is going to be even better. You're going to get even better, more stout defense, but I also think you're going to get better offense. But speaking of the defense, Nick Bonito had a bone spur removed from his foot. It doesn't seem like a big deal. The Broncos expect him back next week, and he definitely is going to play game 1. But does this speak to why they didn't sign him before they signed Sutton and Allen? I wonder, man, because or did he suffer that in the San Francisco game? He was limping, right? I noticed in the game that he was limping pretty hard after one of his half sacks or one of his sacks. I saw him wave off the coaches like, "No, I'm good. I can keep playing." But was it that? And then now he had to have it removed, and that's why he didn't play yesterday, or was he just a starter and they weren't playing any starters? That can't be, because they did play Evan Ingram. So I think that maybe the Broncos knew that Bonito has had some injury issues, and he has. He's had some injury issues. I stated that when I made my statement a couple of weeks ago that he should be signed first. He does have some injury issues. This is, just plays into that. He has injury issues. He, I don't know if it's that he's not taking care of himself in the way that he should. But the bottom line is that he's definitively not being able to stay on the field, getting a bone spur, having to stay out a week, or maybe, like I said, maybe it suffered last week. They got it this week. I don't know. This is just coming out about 3 days ago that he had a surgery on a bone spur, and we'll be back next week. So we will see. He has missed practice all last week. We'll see if the Broncos still are on a wait and see. I think they are. And now that he's already gotten an injury, I have to retract my former statement that he should have been signed first. I mean, in hindsight now, the Broncos obviously knew that he might get injured, and they took a chance that he would. I think halfway through the season, if he hadn't have gotten this injury or whatever, they probably would have tried to make sure that they signed him, especially if he's got almost double-digit sacks through half the season. But now it looks like the Broncos were correct. They kind of knew that there's a possibility this dude might get hurt, and this is just preseason, and he had a bone spur in his foot on a play that was meaningless. But the confidence level in the Broncos organization right now is high. I know they are high on Nick Bonito, and they want to see him succeed. They just want to see some longevity, and I don't blame them now. I kind of figured you wanted to lock that guy down, just judging by his numbers have progressed. And sometimes you do want to lock down a shooting star, man. You don't want to cause a rift. But at this point, looks like the Denver Broncos were right. But we'll see. It still remains to be seen. I haven't heard Zach Allen's name be called very much in preseason. We'll see what he does in the regular season. Is his name going to be called on a lot of sacks and run stuffs come this season, or will he fall? Will he have a significant loss in his productivity? It'll remain to be seen. I do think that I don't want to be down on the guy because I'm happy that the Broncos signed both Sutton and Allen. I'm just kind of waiting for them to sign Bonito, but I'm excited for, and I'm not mad at the Broncos signing Allen and Bonito. I'm really not. I'm just not mad about it. I feel like we asked the question on this show, which one should they do first, and I said my piece, but I wasn't going to be mad if they signed all three or two out of the three. It could have been Bonito and Allen, Bonito and Sutton, Allen and Bonito. That would have been fine with me either way. I mean, I want them to sign all three just for the longevity, but if the business doesn't make any sense, if the business outlook doesn't make any sense, I get it from the business sense. There's a business to this as well, and you have to make sure that the longevity of your franchise is looked after as opposed to just one player making sure that he's secure. Not that you can find just another Nick Bonito anywhere, but I believe that the Broncos feel like they have enough depth that you could find a guy comparable, maybe not as good or better, but you could find a guy that can put pressure on the quarterback and force him into making mistakes and throwing into tighter pockets to give your stellar defensive back group an opportunity for a 50-50 ball that they will win more than 50% of the time. With the corners that they have, you can guarantee that those 50-50 balls, the Broncos are going to have a very high percentage of getting those interceptions every time. Mark my words, they will have plenty of opportunity to get interceptions, cause fumbles, all of these things, and give Bo Nix and that offense plenty of opportunity. And that's all that you can ask, is to give Bo Nix more reps, more opportunities to put points on the board, get his offense moving, and give his defense rest. That's all you could do. That's all you could do. And I think that Nick Bonito is a key piece in that. But to the Broncos' point, that key piece can be pretty much done by two different guys. As long as you're getting pressure on the quarterback and not allowing him to step up into the pocket. Or most of the time the edge rushers are to, especially in this defense, are to push the quarterback up into the defensive tackles, the nose guard and whatnot. That it's completely designed for that. That's why they're coming around the edge and pushing the quarterback up into the middle. The fact that the Denver Broncos re-signed Zach Allen to be that guy, I mean, that tells me now that the Broncos feel like their outside linebackers that they have can put that pressure on the quarterback, push him up into the pocket, and then Zach Allen and other defensive tackles or nose guards will finish the job. And if the quarterback is dumb enough to not step up into the pocket, you're going to get guys that do a spin move or a swing move under the right or the left tackle, and they're going to be sacking the quarterback from the blind side or sacking him from the side he can see, but not from an angle that he can actually see because he's looking downfield, right? Because there's going to be a lot of coverage sacks, man. The Broncos have some of the best DBs in the league, and the scheme that VJ has for them, along with some linebackers dropping into the gaps and causing havoc in passing lanes, this Denver team on defense is going to be a monster to tango with, man. And it's going to be a good year for the Denver Broncos, man. And I do. Last week or a couple weeks ago, I was asking Mike, are you optimistic? Are you what was it? Are you optimistic or are you skittish or scared or I forget what I exactly worded it, or are you excited for this season? And we were both on that middle tier of we're optimistic to a certain extent, like reserved, right? Well, now I'm actually excited after seeing the depth yesterday. I don't know what the Broncos are going to do about the run game. I kind of feel like everybody gave Coach Payton a lot of crap last year because he wasn't utilizing the run to give Bo Nix a little bit of love and give Bo Nix some not even love, just keeping the defense honest and guessing on whether they're going to run the ball or pass the ball. He just did a lot of passing out of every single formation you could think of, and a lot of it worked. But it did get Bo running around for his life and having the offensive line working twice as hard as they should have for the least amount of yards. I think this year he has the running backs that he wants. To a certain extent, I think he gave Williams an opportunity last year out of just the sheer fact that he was drafted here. Javonte was drafted here. He blew his knee out trying to, get extra yardage for this game or for this team. So he gave him an opportunity last year, and then this year the Denver Broncos had to move on. They just had to move on. But now I think that he has all of his guys. There's no excuse. Every running back that he has right now, he has either drafted or had the GM sign on a undrafted free agent signing contract. So he has his guys. He has a lot of guys, and they're going to have to make a lot of cuts. I don't know what he's going to do. It's a good problem to have. I don't know exactly what the coach is going to do on his cuts and the GM on who they're going to get rid of in that running back locker room, but it's going to be a tough decision. Every single one of these guys can basically do what the Broncos need them to do. So it's going to be good, man. I'm hoping Nick Bonito, heals well. He comes back with, a tenacity that I'm going to be the leading sack, linebacker in the league for this year, and the Broncos are going to have no choice but to either trade me by the deadline or sign me by the deadline, because if they don't sign me by the deadline, it's going to be pricey come next year. Speaking of next year, the Denver Nuggets and the NBA have released their schedules. I'm not going to lie to y'all. The Denver Nuggets schedule is very tough this year, man. They seem to always get screwed by the schedule people. Their longest homestand is no more than 4 games, but their longest away stand is like 7 straight games. I want to say it's in like April, or excuse me. Hold on, I'll find it here because I was looking at it earlier. It starts in December and ends in January. So December 27th. So not only is this an away trip, it's an away trip on the East Coast, starting in Orlando. Then they play in Miami, not too bad. But then they got to fly all the way north to Toronto, back down to Cleveland, then back up to Brooklyn, then to Philly, and then a short trip to Boston before they come home for 2 short games against 2 Eastern teams, Atlanta and Milwaukee. But then they're on the road in the West against New Orleans and Dallas. But again, this schedule is crazy hard. When they first start, it's like home, away, home, away. Actually, I think they start out away. Let me double check. Let me get back to the top of this. Yeah. So they start out in Golden State, right? They start out on the West Coast. First game of the season, October 23rd at 8 p.m., and this will be on ESPN. All of this information I'm getting is according to NBA.com, Nuggets schedule. They play them, and then they come home October 25th, so 2 days later, and they've got to play Phoenix. Then 2 days later, they've got to fly to Minnesota. 2 days later, they come back home and play New Orleans. 2 days later, they go to Portland on the West Coast and play the Portland Trailblazers. Then 2-3 days later, they go back, or they come back home, and they play their longest homestand of the season. And at the beginning of the season, now they do play another 4-game stint coming up in later in the season, like in February or March. But this is the first time that they play 4 games in a row at home, and it is against. I mean, the Nuggets' schedule is hard, and I don't mean by the teams that they have to play necessarily. It's just that it's going to be hard, or it adds a bit of. It just makes it a little bit more hard at the fact that they got to go a home, away, home, away, home, away, and then you finally get a homestand of 4 games. But then it's the Kings, Miami, Golden State, and the Pacers, and it looks like at least one of those games at home is also a cup night. So they're in West Group C, along with Golden State, apparently. Because they play them for the first game, or is that the second game? That's the second game. So Portland is the first game that they play in the Cup. And that's away. That's in Portland, mind you. After the Nuggets play New Orleans at home, they play Portland in Portland 2 days later for a Cup game. And then after that game, they play a 4-game homestand that ends with the Pacers coming to Denver. But then they go away for 3 games after that against the Kings, the Clips, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, all in November. And then again, 1 home game. Just 1 home game against the Bulls after they come back from Minnesota. 1 home game, and then they got to play 2 away in New Orleans and Houston. Come back, play 1 home game against Sacramento. Then they go to Memphis, come home for a cup game against the Spurs, go away to Phoenix, come home for Dallas, and then they go on a 3-game away trip again, playing the Pacers, Hawks, and Charlotte. Then they have their a good homestand of 3 games against Orlando, Houston, and the Jazz. Then they go to Dallas to play Dallas on the 23rd. They do play on Christmas against Minnesota at 8:30. Of course, they're the last game. Again, the Denver Nuggets get no love. They're always the last game. But, hey, at least they're playing on Christmas now, right? They weren't playing on Christmas at all, but now they are, and it's against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I hope we beat their ass. And, yes, I said it. You can quote them. But then, after Christmas, 2 days later, that's when they have to go. So they play here on Christmas, okay, which is also cool. That's really, really cool. I think I'm going to try to – my birthday's the day before Christmas, so maybe I can get some tickets. to either the Dallas. Oh, the Dallas game is in Dallas, so I can't do that. But maybe against the Minnesota Timberwolves, I would love to be at the game where the Denver Nuggets beat the Minnesota Timberwolves ass, man. I would love that when they break the cycle here at home. I think they play them earlier in the season. I think I mentioned that. But either way, I would love to be at that game. But then 2 days later on the 27th, that's when they start their hardest road trip, starting on the 27th against Orlando, 2 days later in Miami, 2 days later in Toronto, 2 days later in Cleveland. And all of these are just like 2 days away, and they're traveling on this. 2 days later against Brooklyn, and then Philly, and then Boston. And as I said, then they get 2 home games. Then it's away 2, home 3, away 2, 3. And then they get another homestand of 4 games, including against the Oklahoma City Thunder, Detroit Pistons, Brooklyn, LA, Clips. But then they've got another 3 games away, 2 games home, 3 games away, 1 game home, 1 game away, 1 game home, 1 game away. You see a pattern here? Do you see a pattern here on the way that they schedule the Denver Nuggets? Like, especially that 7-game away. Like 7 games away, and you're playing games every 2 days. That means you're traveling every other day. Like, the Nuggets are going to have a tough time, and that's why having the depth that they created and what they did this offseason definitively is going to benefit them. And now I'll argue with Mark all day. I want in the beginning of the season, especially during that away first 3 or 4 games, man, I don't want Jokic playing heavy minutes. Like, period. You're already going to be traveling, man. Let them guys who aren't going to play very many minutes come the end of the season or after the All-Star break and during the playoffs, let them get some minutes during the beginning of the season. Yes, allow the Jokic teams, the starters, to get continuity and a rhythm. You do want to definitively get that. You don't want to take that away, but you definitely want to make sure that Murray and Jokic and AG are getting the sufficient rest that they need in the beginning of this 82 game season. And I don't care about winning the cup. Yes, there's a lot of that would be, icing on the proverbial cake. But I do care about the Denver Nuggets starting 5, especially the 3 aforementioned players, because they're getting up in age players, and we need them for the playoffs. I mean, I get Murray wants to play more minutes because he probably comes in out of shape, and they've got to have him play extended minutes so he can play his way into shape. But I don't care about that. His lesson will be learned if you cut his minutes in the beginning of the season, and he has to work hard to get himself into game shape in other ways. And I'm not trying to be, an a-hole about it, but it's just like you need to come in game shape, period. You just need to come in regular season playoff shape. As soon as we hit the hardwood for the first game, you need to do that. And he hasn't been able to do that the past couple of years, and I don't know if it's because, he's fat and happy, or if, there's disgruntledness in the locker room. But the fact of the matter is that the Denver Nuggets created a bunch of depth. They do have enough depth to where they can give their starters, especially those 3, a little bit more rest in the first third of the season, so that when it comes to the 2/3 rest of the season, they can make their push. Just hopefully in that first third, they're not in that bottom tier. Okay, that's the only downside to this is if they don't play very well in the first third. And they fall into that 7, 8, 9, 10th spot, it's going to be a lot harder to climb your way out of that hole in the 2/3. Not impossible, but harder. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that the Nuggets will maintain that top 1 through 4 this season. They might even be 1 or 2 seed, maybe knock even the Oklahoma City Thunder off of their crown. But remains to be seen. I can't wait for October. We have a little bit about a month and a half until the NBA starts. But I am completely out of time. I've gone over on time. Thank you, Vinny, for indulging me. Big shout out again. Much love to the Perez family.
Much love to the Perez family.
Gus, you're always here, man. And Mark and Angie, we are thinking about you. We will see you guys next week. Don't forget, I'm going to have KJ Granderson from 92.5 Altitude on the show next week to talk Broncos. Try to get me some questions that you would like to ask. He's kind of the Broncos insider guru from his shtick, so get those questions ready. We'll ask him. We will see you next week, same time, same channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all social media. We'll see you next week. Peace.